Okay, people. So now it's, what is it called? January 16th, 2019. And there's over a foot of snow everywhere outside. Remember those? Anyway, I like nifty things like that. They're pretty cool. You can get these bigger bowls, get them ringing somehow, and then put them on your head, and then you just let the vibration go through your body. Right? I haven't done that yet. It's hard to get these things to sing. So anyway, I'm up in this room here. War room 2. And I'm just going to keep this brief, people. Okay? I'm going to show you. These binders are piling up. I'm putting things in binders. Just seems to work better. I don't know. There's too much of it. It's so overwhelming. Here's some more. This is, ShaMay went to, try to go to college twice. Right? This is the first time, I'm thinking. I haven't logged it yet. Right? This one, obviously you can't see. When was it? Look for a signing date. And I always put dates on these things. Right? So, as I'm going through, this loan was for $33,465, and it was being done through a private college, and that's why it was so expensive. And then that's when Marcane was saying, well, maybe you should be thinking about going to Langara. And this was at the time, I'm pretty sure, it was after Uncle John, this was right before Uncle John got medically kidnapped. Start date, January 11th, 2016. You can see that. Do you see that? Where am I? Right up in the corner there. I know I paid $150. I don't know what this is for. This might be for the more recent one. I don't know. There's two of them, people. Okay? And I know the last time she registered, I'm the one who paid the $150. So that college actually should reimburse me for that money. Because ShaMay died 12 days before the start date of her course, right, towards nursing. So, anyway, that's not really what I wanted to talk about. I don't really want to talk about anything. But, all this stuff here, I don't know. I need to list it, do something. Right? ShaMay was quite active in the workforce. Right? She had several jobs. This is her resume. If you notice, the foundation is at the top of the list. Or maybe she put me on the bottom. Either or. There it is. Can't really see. Anyway, gotta go through that. So, as you can see, so I'm labeling them now, so I get confused, right, looking at, like, oh, what's in there? Oh, what's in there? So I have to label, right? I'm trying to figure out a little system here. This works pretty good, right? As long as the binders are the right size, you can see, easy to pick up, right? And then moving on to over here, like I said before, I like to put things in these things and then into categories, right? And then I log them into the binders as to whatever they are, right? This one here is just general information in terms of, what does it say? How long does it take for a dead body to turn black? Wandering eye, right there. And then there's just a little snippet off the internet as a reminder. Not that I haven't read this over and over again, right? So that I can, you know, when you sit down and you want to write it in terms of, like, what's going on here, you kind of need to know what you're talking about, right? So here's another thing I wanted to mention. I don't know if you guys remember this, but this is the trust fund, basically, that CIBC Bank put on lockdown. It's one of them. There's more than one. And as you can see, the date on this one was January of the 25th, 2019, which means I'll be getting another one within the next month or so, right? For last year. And there is money in there, people, but I can't do shit about it. Right? This is an answer from the Freedom of Information. You can see that. Where is it? It is right now. Right? And then Tisha and I, you know, because when we requested ShaMay's medical files, they didn't give us some stuff, and they withheld it, right? And they did that also with when I did Amari's. Right? Hold on a minute. Okay. So, for the ones that are questioning whether ShaMay was a real person or if she's actually died, here you can see this is her death certificate, people. Okay? And if you want to take a note of this, it is listed as date of death, April 16th, 2018. Okay? And that was only because on the 16th, a doctor who I like to call Dr. Ghoul, because he was all dressed in black, looking all spiffy, right? That's when he showed us some sort of imagery on some computer screen to prove that ShaMay's brains were leaking down her spinal column to the base of the back of her neck, at the bottom of her head, down and up in that spine area, right? That's where her brains were leaking. And he dated that for April 16th, 2018. But if you look over here, you'll see a letter dated for April 15th, 2018. And it says, to whom it may concern, in which this case, it was going to the provincial government because the judge wanted a documentation that ShaMay was a real person. So here it's being documented by Fraser Health. This is what's happening here. And that she's in intensive care. It was just a letter of confirmation for their files. That's all it was. I'll read it to you. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Let's see. It's just easier if I do it this way. Since we're talking about this subject here. Because the last time I checked, people, I'm the only one doing this, okay? At this point. There is rumors that I might get some help, but right now it's just rumors. When you're in my position, having to do this stuff, trust me, it's rumors. And the thing about asking other people to do it, like, you know, a friend walks through the door and say, hey, you know, can you take this binder, you know, take this binder for me. This one right here. That's a pretty heavy fucking binder. Okay, and I've got thicker ones than this. And go by page and, you know, type out the title of whatever that particular section is, because some of these little plastic things, they have one paper or they have like 15, you know, it depends on what we're talking about. And so anyway, you take this, you give it to somebody, you thinking they're a friend or maybe a family member, and you ask them to type it out for you, and then, you know, a month goes by and they can't find the book, or, you know, the dog pissed on it, or, you know, the mailman ran off with it, or whatever it is, right? You got into a fight. Now you're like fighting to get your shit back, and they don't want to give you back your shit. I mean, anything's possible, people, right? So you're really gambling if you do it that way. If you're paying somebody to do it, then you have a little more control, because if they don't do a good job, why would you continue paying them? You would fire them. So, assuming that you haven't fired them, then, you know, you could pay somebody to do it that would get it done in a timely manner, and then you would move along. But when you're in my position, I can't afford to pay anybody, people. So I'm having to do this by myself. It's enough just trying to put them into these binders. I have to still take the time to sit down and type out the fucking titles and make my document list, right? A document list that's going to be ignored by the court. Yep. That's what they did with Uncle John. Mind you, I didn't really file a document list. I filed all the information as it unfolded, and they didn't like it. I was told that when you go to court, you're supposed to keep them guessing. Don't give them too much, you know, make them work for it. Make them work to go look for the information. And I'm like, yeah, okay, as if. If they don't even want to look at the information and confirm what's in front of them, why the hell would they go look for it? They wouldn't. That's the whole point of corporate corruption and white-collar criminal activity, right? They do it in a different kind of way, through the shuffling of paper. And the more they can shuffle some and bury it, the happier they are, right? And then they multiply and flourish. Okay, so anyway, this is what this letter is about. This letter is about, the judge needed something to confirm that, one, ShaMay was a real person, and two, that she had actually been injured in some manner where it put her into critical care. And this request came in a day or two prior, right? Probably, you know, from the very beginning. So anyway, I finally got it on the 15th. This letter is to confirm that ShaMay Geraldine Chorney was admitted into the intensive care unit at Surrey Memorial Hospital on April 11th, 2018, and is currently in critical condition. So this doctor acknowledges that ShaMay is quote-unquote alive because she's been listed as critical. Any latitude that you can offer to Miss Chorney's family at this time is greatly appreciated. This doctor was not representing me, people. Okay? Like my family. He was some random doctor that was supposedly looking after ShaMay. He was not speaking on behalf of the family. There was no need for his appreciation. As you may be aware, due to confidentiality, we are limited in the amount of information that can be provided. If you have any further questions or concerns, you may contact the unit social worker at the number below. So in one breath, he's saying, don't ask for anything legitimate in terms of, fax me some information, but just call us and we'll tell you on the phone what the fuck is going on. So anyway, this Dr. Barr, he signed it. Barr. Barr is a Punjabi last name. Okay? Just keep that in mind, people. So this doctor confirmed that ShaMay was critically alive on the 15th of April. However, the next day, we were called in, quick, come, so that they can say she was brain dead and listed on their death certificate, which in my opinion has been falsified. Okay? And that's the whole point of this. Okay? This is the whole point of everything that I'm doing, people. Alright? ShaMay died on April 11th, 2018 in the basement. Not on some gurney one day after the fact of a doctor saying she was critically alive, to the next extreme where her brains were leaking down her spine up in here because that's the only little hole that was left for anything to escape. And therefore, she was suddenly dead. As the family continues to go without any kind of resolution, people, there's no resolution. There's no resolution of any kind. So anyway, that's what that is. Okay? And that's what that is. Definitely a conflict of interest. Right? Especially when you're convinced that your daughter was embalmed between the hours of 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. on April 11th of 2018. I stand my ground. Okay? That's the whole purpose of this, people. Right? If my daughter's body would have been treated correctly, I wouldn't be doing this. Now, I'm going to leave it on this note. Yeah. This one, we're going to go back to this. Do you see? This is an active trust account, people, that draws interest every year. If Uncle John would have been alive, wouldn't have been medically kidnapped, we were planning to fill this back up because what happened was when ShaMay finished high school, the deal was ShaMay, you go to school like college now, right? You're out of high school. You have this. It was, no, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. It wasn't very much, right? But it was consecutive for 4 years in terms of she'd get the principal the first year, and then thereafter she'd get the interest that the plan had accumulated over a period of years, right? It's just one of those things. Poor people need to be careful when they take these things on, because the thing is, provincial governments, right, not so much the federal, but the provincial governments, what they do through their legislation as their political parties change over a period of years, one government, will say the NDP, right, New Democrat Party, right, they will allow you to have these things. They encourage you to have these things. The federal government will partner up with the provincial government so that you come into access and to, start up these things for your kids. However, what happens, people, is after 10, 15 years, a new government comes in, like the BC Liberal government, and wipes you the fucking out. They consider it to be income. They want you to go off. They don't want you. They use it against you, right? In terms of if you have 5 kids, like for me, and they had, well, that was the reason in 2006 why they denied me access to my application to social services when I was living in that shanty shack looking after that little girl for free for the Ministry of Children and Family Development, as social services themselves were denying me access to social assistance even though I had no income based on, a couple of these things that were sitting in the file. And they wanted me to appeal, and I said, fuck it, right? Fuck it. And then maybe I cashed Sierras and lived off that, because that's what we did. A couple of them. We gave Brooks his, for the most part. Well, yeah, Brooks got his, but he ended up buying this stupid truck that sat in my driveway for a year and a half. Right? Or whatever it was. Mark Kane actually did go to college. He was in college for like 6 years. Initially, he wanted to be a arts teacher, and I was just happy that he was in college, so it didn't matter to me. Right? I suggested he go into computer programming, but because he had already spent so much time and kind of taught himself how to do that stuff, he didn't feel interested in that. He I guess he had a awakening, a moment in the art room, right? So, I do believe that he would make a very good art teacher if it ever came to that, right? And I would encourage him to follow his dreams if that's what he really wanted to do. So in his case, he got his, right? But in ShaMay's case, after they medically kidnapped Uncle John, she couldn't even access this, people, when she started going to school. Because it requires Uncle John's signature or a judge's signature on this. Now, I could have met up with CIBC Bank, no problem. And they would have shuffled everything under the table in terms of, oh yeah, you're right, Miss Chorney does have a power of attorney, but blah, 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 blah. And they'll explain it some way real fast, real quick, as they're shuffling around papers saying, sign this, sign that. And you don't know what the fuck is going on. So they end up, compromising the whole situation just to avoid the guts of it. The wrongs that were done under the Criminal Code of Canada, the wrongs that were done through all the different legislated acts on a provincial level. They didn't want to talk about that shit. They just wanted to settle the fucking deal and say, oh, Your Honor, well, now that this subject is up, why don't you cut your John Henry on this piece of paper so Miss Chorney can access her 1,506 cents, right? You know what I'm saying? Just so that we can get rid of her. And while you're doing that, you can sign off on Andre's trust account. Never mind ignoring everything that they have already fucking accumulated in their vault of lies, people. Okay? Before this can be signed off on, a judge has to hear the history behind it. Not just a little 2-page fucking section out of 2,000 pages. He needs to hear the 2,000 pages. But, and this is what I'm going to end it on, okay? If you notice, the credit cards that I got stuck with after they medically kidnapped Uncle John for his inheritance that they were conspiring behind his back on, right? Without him even realizing what he had. Because nobody told him for 14 fucking months until he showed up in the hospital with a lung infection that was released into the city of Surrey to kill off the homeless people. $30-40 people died that year out in the fucking streets because of that freaking cold that was going around. And because my kids were working at McDonald's, they brought it home. And if it wasn't fucking them, it was Sierra running around out there homeless. Coming back here, breathing on John. Only John was the last person to get it. Isn't that interesting? And because it was so bad for me, I said, gee, John, let's play it safe. Let's just have you go to emergency for now. Non-emergency, just so that, you know, you don't sleep for a week and die on me. And what did they do, people? They took him, right? First thing they did was badger ShaMay to find out where his superannuation life insurance policy was. He was 76 years old, people. He canceled that when he turned fucking 65. The government wrote him a letter and said, hey, you want to continue on with your life insurance policy? It's going to cost you $40 a month. We talked about it. He said no. And you want to know why he said no, people? Because he said, I know my family. If they think that they can fucking come into your house and start ripping up mattresses looking for this superannuation policy, that's what they'll do, Judy. They'll lock me up and I'll be lonely like Joan's mother. And that's what they did, people. They fucking got him at his weakest moment, drugged him up, right? Fucking doped him up, put him in a hammock, shipped him over to Victoria. He woke up. Everything's fucking weird. He says it himself. Probably gave him shock therapy because the Victoria General Hospital is famous for that, for the elderly. You know, shut him up. Make them forget their memories, you know, as long as they're palatable and we can fucking manage them the way we want to manage them. Not the way that old people want to live their lives, right? But the ones, you know, that get medically kidnapped for their money, they don't got a fucking say in shit. Yeah, phoning up ShaMay. Where's his superannuation life insurance policy? No, I don't know. I just want to see Uncle John. Why are you asking me? Well, go ask your mother. Go find it. We need his ID. Like, what the fuck, people? Right? He didn't have one. He said, no. No. I'm not going to stress you out, Judy. That's what he told me. I'm not going to stress you out, Judy. Like, what the fuck, John? You know, you must have prepared me for this shit, right? It wasn't like I didn't see it coming because he warned me, people. He warned me. Maybe that's why my fight is so fucking hard, because he warned me, right? He prepared me long in advance before it even fucking happened to fight back. Because he didn't want it to happen. Because, see, that's the thing. You can't control your family members. You know, it's like having a child. You have a little child, right? And, you know, they're growing. And for the most part, you can control them until they hit a certain age. And then once they hit that 12 and up, oh my God, they take on their own personalities, people. And, you know, they make their own paths, and there's nothing you can say or do to change that. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I'm trying not to get overwhelmed. You know, I get very teary-eyed in here too, right? Because, you know, it's unfair, people. It's unfair. Oh, yes. The point of this, okay, the point of this is Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, the Royal Bank of Canada, they have the moral authority and the political right and just whatever it is to make sure that they get their monthly payments on those credit cards that John and I incurred ourselves together as a family to run a functioning house. But because he was medically kidnapped, I was left with all the responsibilities on top of having to fight back because he had already warned me what his family was like. Okay? When he wrote his will, people, and I'm going to pull out his will, and I'm going to show you his will, and I'm going to read you his will, people, because there's only one official will on Uncle John. Anything else after the fact, after they took him, was done under false pretense. Was done under false pretense. You take that in front of a fucking judge. The judge doesn't want to hear it, because then that means he has to look into the papers to understand how it became a false pretense as listed under the Criminal Code of Canada. But yet, on the other hand, so, in other words, I make my monthly payments faithfully. How many years has Uncle John been gone now? 4 or 5 years? Right? I'm not that far behind. What, $200 on Canadian Imperial Bank Commerce for this month's fucking credit card bill? Were they charging me $304 in interest every month for 5 fucking years? Right? They get their fucking money, but if you notice, I can't get mine. ShaMay couldn't get it when she wanted it. I can't get it because it has to go in front of a judge. But the thing is, when it goes in front of the judge, is the judge going to want to hear about the false pretense? Or is he just going to sign off on that and play this off as if it was nothing? Right now, we're in that as if it was nothing league, right? Because what I talk about is frivolous, scandalous, and a waste of the court's time. Go into my videos, you'll see it. We're going into round 2 now. So two things. In one breath, ShaMay is critically ill, and the next breath, she's got fucking brains leaking down her stem cells, her spine, right? Spinal cord. How can you have one extreme and go to another extreme, not even within 24 hours? When you are not even believing in what they're trying to tell you. Right? Sitting here doing this shit in silence just leaves me sitting like a fucking duck. Okay? Does. All right.
Okay, people. So you see what happened? Snow's covered up everything. Halfway everything. Like, look how deep the snow is. See? It's very deep. Super deep. see. So we're gonna go check on Pumpkin. Let's go this way. So see how I'm walking. Have to walk like this. So here's the slough. There's a big pond. Here's Pumpkin, the rabbit. Here's Pumpkin. I gave him some water for he can have some to drink. And then we just keep on going. And then here's the pond that turned to ice crystals.
What are you doing, buddy?
Taking a bath.
You okay?
Yeah, the freezing cold. Can't, I have to do this bayo. So there it is. Okay. And we shall see how the grass is. Oh, go. Come on, let's go. I'll show you. Oh, shoot. This one's even deeper. See? See, it's even deeper. Oh, there's my snowman. So let's see how big it is if I jump. 1, 2, 3, go. So it's not that deep. But, whoa, we better get inside. Bye, people. See you later.